8:33. So the message yesterday from Theresa May was no deal for Britain is better than a bad deal.
But is the Prime Minister in danger of alienating her fellow EU leaders, and could her hard line damage Britain's post-Brexit economy?
Let's try and get some answers on those questions. So we can talk now to the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, David Davis. Very good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning.
So, no deal, she says, better than the bad deal. How would you judge a bad deal?
1 second, you're picking out one sentence from what was nearly a 7,000-word speech. The aim that the Prime Minister was putting in front of the country yesterday was, with great clarity by the way, was a deal which is in the interests of both Britain and the European Union, that seeks to preserve the best of what we have whilst giving us the freedom to trade globally, and a deal which, a proposal for a deal which will get hopefully the whole country behind it. Those who voted leave, those who voted remain, because it's in the interest of the whole country. That's the aim. We're not seeking a fight, we're seeking to get a good deal which serves everybody. That's the most important thing to have at the front of your mind.
Interesting, you say you're not seeking a fight, and then she's using language which I can't read the whole speech, but that particular kind of language.
Of course.
Let me ask you a question. Boris Johnson says countries are queuing up for trade deals with Britain. Which countries?
Well, I had breakfast with the Prime Minister of New Zealand on Saturday morning. That's one there. Australia have shown interest. Obviously, rather famously, the Americans have shown interest. We're now at the front of the line, not the back of the queue. And so there are a whole series of countries. And we're also talking to countries which have existing deals with the European Union, which we want to carry over after we leave. So there are a whole series of countries involved there.
OK, and do you concede that any kind of deal with whether it be New Zealand or America that you mentioned, takes time? How much time before you can get deals with these countries?
Well, bear in mind that we can't actually sign off on such a deal for 2 years. So we've got quite a lot of time in hand, in one sense, that to talk about them exactly what they want to see in the deal, what it would involve, and so on. So we will get to a point very, very soon after leaving where we know exactly what both sides want out of the deal, and be able to sign very quickly, I think.
OK, so we know it's at least...
I don't actually think time's a problem with those deals.
Don't you? So you've got 2 years to be. You'll be having conversations in these 2 years. Then suddenly, at the end of 2 years, you can do the deal.
Well, suddenly, I think all these things is governments we're talking about here. Suddenly is putting it too strongly, but I think so very soon after departure from the Union.
OK, what months?
Oh, look, I'm not going to get into predicting what day we're going to sign these things on. I think the important thing to bear in mind is there are big opportunities here, and big opportunities which will become available very soon after we leave.
OK, let's talk about you. Of course, I know you talk about this, and you know this very well yourself. The Canadian deal with the EU has taken 7 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that tells you quite a lot, doesn't it, about negotiations with the EU? You think we can get everything in order in 2, do you?
I think we can agree in 2. I mean, we may need some implementation elements to take place after that, but I'm not talking long periods. I mean, just to, I don't know, whether it's a new customs arrangement or a new border arrangement or whatever, and also for companies to accommodate. But the big difference between something like Canada, which is a sort of state-of-the-art deal in many ways, is that when you're doing all these deals, one of the big things you have to worry about is common standards, so that the car made in this country is considered safe and saleable and meets all the standards in another country. The day after we leave the European Union, all of our standards will be identical. There's no negotiation to do there. They're identical. Secondly, we're in a situation where we both have a big vested interest in maintaining the trade we already have. The Europeans sell 290 billion to us every year, cars, pharmaceuticals, food, you name it. They want to preserve that. It's in their interest to have what you might think of as frictionless free trade with us, just as much as it's in ours with them. So there are very, very big incentives and big technical advantages because we already start on the same basis.
OK, can we talk about process as well here in the UK? Because the Prime Minister says that she would give Parliament a vote on the deal that she strikes. If, for example, Parliament were to vote no on that, what happens?
Well, I have no intention they will vote no. I'm going to bring them back a deal which they want to do. But I think people are over-focusing on a single vote. There are going to be a lot of votes on this along the way. This is not going to be so we sort of turn up after 2 years of silence and say, here you are, choose this.
Okay.
No, what's going to happen is you're going to have the Great Repeal Bill go through with a great deal of discussion of what we intend there. Then after that, there are going to be major pieces of legislation which relate to the policies that are affected by the negotiation and by the departure. Parliament's going to have any number of occasions. So by the time we get to the end of it, it's a bit like the third reading. Governments don't lose third readings in modern times because you've already been through all the issues beforehand.
Okay.
So it's a false comparison, really. It's a really hypothetical, and we will win it. We will win that vote.
Okay, let's talk about, you said, so the Parliament will have lots of votes. On which pieces of legislation, for example?
Well, first off, the Great Repeal Bill. I mean, the aim of that, it's very important. It's a very big bill. The aim of that is to take all of those bits of European law we want to continue with and bring it into UK law so that subsequently, if Parliament chooses to, it can change it. Then after that, you're going to have bills. Now, I don't know which ones because we haven't agreed all the details yet, but we're going to have bills which relate to the major changes that arise as a result of leaving, and there'll be a number of those.
Okay, David Davis, thanks very much for your time here
Thank you.
on Breakfast. Thank you.